I personally doesn't bother me. I mean, I'm gonna listen to the facts. All right, I want to welcome everybody to the May Plan Commission. From the look of the crowd, it looks like everybody got the free food note. We don't usually get a crowd like this. For tonight, we have 3 applications, new applications, and we have one new item of business on the agenda. So to start, I'm going to ask Nicole if you can please take roll call.
Rick Ferris.
Here.
Josh Wilburn.
Here.
Jerry Ralston.
Here.
Carl Eaglin.
Here.
Zach Laughlin.
Here.
Joel Storm.
Here.
Van Crafton.
Here.
Mike Armstrong.
Here.
Patrick Tevenoff.
Here.
Patrick is remoted in. He is out of town, so he's remoted in to be a part of the meeting, and he will be able to vote as being remoted in as well. With this, next item of business is the approval of minutes. Everyone should have got the minutes from last month's meeting. Any corrections, additions?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
All right, do we have a second?
I second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Thanks, Patrick, sorry. I got ahead of you. All right, for our first new application, it is PCAF-25-3, Rakesh Patel for Madison Property LLC. It's an application to amend the final plat. The applicant is requesting to split the property with the parcel ID 39-08-22-223-001.000-007. Location 751 Jefferson Court, zoned general business. Do we have the applicant or someone representing this application present?
I have not seen him.
He's going to check to see if he's out there. If he's not out there, we'll wait till the end, see if he's able to show up by the end of the meeting here. Okay. We'll move on to the next application. And this application is being asked to be tabled, but Joe, I want to ask your opinion first. The reason why we have it on here to be tabled is because the applicant did not get the proper signage up in time. Would we need that to be tabled, or wouldn't that just automatically move on to the next month because they didn't get the proper signage up?
Yeah, so maybe we'll just go on to the next phase.
We don't need a table, we don't need to do a table, okay. Okay, all right. So that moves us to the third application, PCAF-25-4, Stefan and Robin Mangione. Application to amend final plat. The applicant is requesting to consolidate the properties with the parcel ID 39-13-001-223.000-007 and 39-13-001-223.000-007. Location is 1030 Park Avenue and 1030 and a half Park Avenue, zoned historic district residential. You could state your name and address for us.
Robin Mangione, 1030 Park Avenue.
All right. Nicole, anything more to add on this, to this?
Nothing to add. I will just note that we received the correct plats, which was noted in the staff survey. The documentation of the parcel consolidation has not changed. They were just missing certifications, so their surveyor added that.
Okay.
Patrick, let me know if you want me to hold it up to the camera.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
All right. Robin, anything more you'd like to tell the board on
Just
this?
combining 2 parcels.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the board? All right, any questions, comments from the audience on this application? All right, hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the project PC AF-25-4.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Pick one of them. All right, Nicole?
Rick Ferris,
Yes.
Josh Wilbur,
Yes.
Jerry Ralston,
Yes.
Zach Laughlin,
Yes.
Carl Eaglin,
Yes.
Joel Storm,
Yes.
Mike Armstrong,
Yes.
Dan Crafton,
Yes.
Patrick Kavanaugh.
Yes.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Robin. Easy enough. All right, in new business, we have a resolution 2025-PC1, City of Madison, application to amend the zoning ordinance, official zoning map, and schedule of uses. The applicant is requesting to recreate a Riverfront District, RF, within the zoning ordinance. This requires an amendment to the zoning ordinance, official zoning map, and schedule of uses. We have a representative for this application.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you, and we are here tonight to talk about an important matter regarding the city. Our staff, the Planning Commission, Economic Development, the Mayor's Office, also working in conjunction with our zoning consultant, Amy Williams, who I believe is on the line with us. She'll give some remarks here. Anyway, we're anxious to get the facts out. The reason we're here tonight is because about 6 to 9 months ago, we embarked on a rewrite of our zoning ordinance for the entire city. It's been about a decade since that was done, and it's been over 30 years since our subdivision ordinance was revisited. And like many other parts of our city, policies, and particularly modernizing our policies and readdressing our comprehensive planning has to happen on a regular basis. So throughout the course of my administration, we've been looking at areas across our community and seeing what can we do better. And I think that if you look at our track record, there's plenty of evidence across almost every corner of our community where city-led investments have essentially improved our neighborhoods, improved our economy, brought housing stock online, eliminated blight, and so many things. But we have a responsibility to leave things better than we found them, to bring new solutions to old problems, to make proper investments for the future of the city. And over the past several years, you've seen city-led initiatives improve, as I stated, every corner of our community. And tonight's discussion is about our riverfront, which is an important one that we should consider very carefully and thoughtfully and with facts. We all love our riverfront, but it is suffering from chronic disinvestment. We also have outdated zoning ordinances, and it's our duty to revisit them. And these issues, and work together to deal with these issues and address our lack of housing and other areas relative to improving our economy. If you look at our riverfront, you'll see a new Crystal Beach, a new Ohio River Legacy Park, the new Super Overlook, a newly revitalized Welch Park on its way, and as we recover from the flood, even more investments in our riverfront's open space. But when it comes to zoning and new construction, these are not easy discussions to make and have. And based on the number of people here and particularly on Facebook, sometimes they're not great conversations to have or even approach the topic. But we have to address the topic of our riverfront and its outdated zoning. Our riverfront is an asset. Its history as a commercial district helped build our beautiful city. However, decades of disinvestment that isn't reversed will stagnate our local economy. As our steering committee was reviewing the zoning ordinance, we felt this was a time where good policy will guide prudent future investments. We have to take an aggressive approach toward housing if we're going to meet the needs of our growing community and satisfy the needs of a good workforce. Our employers are making the right investments in Madison and are counting on us to do the same. And the only way to solve this problem, the chronic housing problem, what we're trying to address now, there's only one way to solve it, and that's to build our way out of it and do it prudently. I'd like to dispel some myths. This is not a high-rise. We're talking about the district that's going to benefit other structures that are in this area. It's going to eliminate blight. It's going to bring investment. It's also going to set us on a path for the future. That's going to be really contributing to our community. And it's not going to harm our historic district. Not at all. These will be modern apartments, not luxury apartments. It's not a high-rise. It's 3 to 4 stories tall. And it's not for rich people. These are for middle-class people.
I'm going to ask,
moving-
please, from the audience, I realize that you got emotions and you got opinions. Please let the speaker speak, just as we're going to allow you to speak later too, please, as a matter of respect for the.
Thank you. And I'll wrap up. But there are some myths about the property, and we're going to set the record straight tonight. And we want to make a good decision. And I respect everybody who's here, and I expect everybody who's come here. I respect everybody who's come here to vocalize their support or being not in favor of this. And that's okay. That is what we do in a community. We have to bring some of these topics to the forefront and have a reasonable discussion about it. I'd like to close by saying we're listening to our community. We want to find solutions to these big issues that we face. We understand the building height is a major concern, and I understand why. I've spent a lot of my time on the riverfront, just like many of you here have. With that in mind, as you go through the proposed district guidelines, we'd like to go ahead and propose reducing the maximum height from 45 feet, which would accommodate a 4-story building, to 35 feet. So we would be cutting off a floor. And not sure if the economics will work under those parameters, but we think that's fair and prudent to consider for our beautiful riverfront. So we look forward to sharing the details with you tonight about this new district, how it will improve our housing options and quality of life for the city. My staff has worked really hard to bring this presentation to you. We're still in the beginning stages, just like our conversation in City Council last week. We're in the beginning stages of the financing side of things, attracting the capital, creating the zoning district within the broader concepts of the city of Madison. So thank you for your consideration. My staff has a presentation for you. Our zoning consultant, Amy Williams, is on the line. They're going to be adding, I think, some very valuable information for tonight's proposed resolution.
Hey,
Thanks.
Mayor, just a quick question, just a clarification. The 35 feet that you're proposing, that's for the entire district, not just...
That is for the guidelines for the district, and that would be above the flood protection grade. So that every structure, remember, there's already commercial structures in this district, and many of those commercial structures are non-conforming uses. And if something happened to where they had to get a floodplain, building in a floodplain development permit, they may not be able to rebuild what's there. So there's also not only the economic value of our city property that we're talking about, but all of those other property owners along the riverfront who have an investment there. This policy will protect them too, and that's what we're asking you all to consider. So we're taking a holistic approach at it, and then this will be part of a larger comprehensive zoning amendment that we'll be bringing before you guys in the next several months as we wrap up all the other zoning districts in the city. Anything else?
Who's coming up next, Mayor?
I'm speaking mostly.
Nicole's
Okay.
driving and speaking.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll turn on my camera so Patrick can see who's talking. Okay, so I just want to go quickly over the history of the riverfront, and then I'll turn it over to Tony and Amy on deck. I just wanted to show a section from our National Historic Landmark District nomination that speaks to the history of the riverfront, that it was originally a bustling place of industry, which a lot of that context has been removed, making the contemporary riverfront as we know it today as a non-contributing resource to the National Historic Landmark District. Of the 33 properties that are currently zoned open space, only 7 of those structures contribute to the district. So just to go through a couple of slides of the history, you can see from this slide that there were several tall manufacturing buildings that are no longer there along a riverfront in the 1880s. Many of those existed through the 1890s, and several of them even stayed through the 1950s. I will just note that the big structure in the middle of the screen here is of the Madison coal property, which is currently owned by the city. And then today you can see the vacant spaces that those industrial sites have left. And now Tony's going to go over the demographics and need for housing.
Thank you, Nicole. One of the great things we have working for us regionally is a lot of regional draw to the city of Madison and Jefferson County. IU Southeast is projecting that Jefferson County will continue to see a population growth, and that's a growth. That's more people in than those who pass on or move away. And for us to continue to do that, it's been noted regionally as well as through our own housing study that that's the number one hurdle for us here in Jefferson County. A lot of people don't realize this. We have nearly 5,000 commuters into Jefferson County each day. That's a great number for us and for our industry. We are pulling workers here to fill those jobs that our great industrial team is working hard to continue to grow our community with. And so if we can just capture some of those folks into our housing and continue to live here and pay lit taxes and the income taxes and all of the associated other revenue streams, we can do even better than we are today. So the comprehensive housing study was done in 2024. This group has not been briefed on it. Several other groups have been. I thought I would just touch upon a few things today about that study. But the key here is about making our frozen housing market break apart. And this is just one solution to many that we have in works at all various levels. If you look at the potential market, and sorry for that slide, you will note that while we have about 400 income level homes below 60% AMI, that's the average median income, area median income, we have some 575 households needed at above 100% market rate in this community. And that's based upon demand. And that's based upon growth of not only our industry, but our hospital and their needs, Hanover College and their needs, and other those that are bringing in mid-managers and higher salaries. I can tell you story after story of industry leaders talking about senior execs or middle managers not being able to find a home in Jefferson County or surrounding and end up over in LaGrange and Crestwood and driving daily to work. We need those people to stay here. We need that intellectual property to stay in Madison, and we need their revenue to stay in Madison. Next slide. So as you can see, our market potential, according to the study, is 1,200 as a demand for housing units. Our plan is looking at a 600 number unit count to be built with stimulus money from the city to help bring investors to our community or leverage our city-owned parcels that we own, one of which is on the riverfront, and there are several others throughout the community that we're currently evaluating as opportunities for infills, but those get you ones and twos. They don't get you multiple numbers. But I think what's really important about the demographic study is for people to understand that people want to move to Madison. 40% of those people who want to move here are young singles and couples. Young singles and couples starting their career. Where do those singles and couples want to live? They want to live in urban, rich environments. They want to be able to walk, they want to be able to shop, and they want to dine in places that they can enjoy and where the activity is at. And that is downtown Madison. I don't know if you're around on the weekends, but look around, right? It is young singles and couples enjoying our community. The other large group, 27%, is empty nesters and retirees. They also like the same things that young singles and couples like. They like the urban environment. They want to walk around. They want to be close to their friends. They want to be close to all activities. So as we look at housing solutions, not in only downtown, but also on the hilltop, We have to take in place the demographics of the people that want to move here, and the solutions that we propose will fit those demographics and ensure market success. So concluding, I think there's a couple things that are really important here to think about. We have to unlock the market fluidity, making affordable homes available to those who need them most. And how you do that may be counterintuitive how some people think, but we have to have those that are in rental units today who want to buy their first home have the ability to buy a first home so they can get out of the rental market. We have to have the ability for those in their first homes to be able to move up in the market so that we can continue the flow. And right now, we're frozen. We don't have enough housing market in any one category to do that. So our floor plan approach is taking that into account. We've been working really hard through our PACE program to eliminate the slum and blight. We've been working really hard to identify a single family. My one slide ahead. No, you there? Okay, sorry. Thank you. We've been working really hard through our vacant and abandoned money through our PACE program to deal with those kinds of houses throughout the entire community. A lot of people think that program is just for the downtown. It also is for the hilltop. We are working hard to develop an entry-level, single-family affordable purchase, single-family home purchase project, hopefully to be able to announce in the next 60 days. That'll give us a great opportunity for those affordable starter homes and middle move-up homes here in our community. We've already tackled the workforce rental need. We have 93 units in Phase 1 under construction behind Sunrise Crossing, the residences at Sunrise Crossing. In Phase 2, we would expect that to roll immediately into once those first 93 units are met. And then finally, we have to look at market rate rental. And we, based upon the demographics, our consultants' recommendations, that market rate rental will successfully help free up the downtown housing market and allow for affordability and family opportunities to come in downtown. Because I don't know about you, but as you age, a lot of people would like to have a place to just live and not deal with yards. There's a lot of people in downtown that are single. They're living in big homes that should be being more productive to our community in terms of families. They just don't have options. Well, they just don't have options. So our goal is to provide options at all levels in our income throughout our community through our phased approach. I've received a number of letters and listened and comments and voicemails and calls over the last 10 or 12 days. And I know this letter was distributed, as well as all the letters have been distributed that have been received to the Plan Commission. But I'd like to just read a couple sentences from Chris Cody, who lives here in Madison on 2nd Street. He works for the National Trust for Historic Preservation and is an attorney there. He's not able to be here tonight, which prompted him to write this letter. But I wanted a couple things to be brought out. When you have zoning and reality not working together, it's a classic recipe for blight, and that needs to be corrected, which is exactly what this resolution will do to our riverfront. The other thing that I think he says that's really important, and coming from someone with the National Trust, I can assure you, the Commission, that the proposed rezoning would have no significant adverse effects upon the Madison Historic Landmark District and its designation. As the Mayor said earlier, it's not a contributing component. It's important. It's important to us emotionally. It's an important component to us recreationally. It's also important, and has been important, to creating what Madison was. This great resource that we live in today was created by the economic impact of the riverfront, and I think that can continue to help us grow as a community in the future. Thank you.
I'm going to turn it over to Amy Williams to go over our zoning amendment.
Perfect. Thank you. And first of all, sorry, I'm not there in person. I already had a 6 o'clock meeting that was scheduled prior to this one being scheduled. So I wanted to make sure that I could definitely join. I'm Amy Williams with Taylor Seacrow Williams Design Group. And as the mayor and others have said, we are currently updating the city's zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations into a unified development ordinance. And so this idea of a Riverfront District is not being done kind of in a vacuum or isolated. It's within a larger picture. We started this process in September, and we've held 8 technical committee meetings through this process to review each section in detail, including this one. And the committee has a broad cross-section, as you can kind of see there on the screen. And we expect to have a public meeting and begin the adoption process, as the mayor did say here, later this summer. So during this process, there was a clear need for a new zoning district, which we've named the Riverfront District. It's a very targeted, and it's not a large area. And that was purposeful. This does not need to be expansive. And really, this district is intended to provide an area for a lot of different uses that will have vibrancy, and that they will really, at the end of the day, our goal is to balance and to complement not only downtown, but the parks and river as well. And so these proposed uses in here, they really are looking at attracting uses that are desirable not just for residents, but also for those visiting the community. So we want to balance those as well. And especially, as Tony was mentioning, those young residents and also those retired residents, that everyone kind of in between will have a little bit of something to do here as well. And so again, it's really creating something that is missing within this area and within Madison. So when we start to look at what are those biggest changes and how does this compare to your current zoning ordinance? Really, some of the changes that include the side and rear yard setbacks. We are allowing to go from a 0 foot to a 3 foot with a maintenance and access easement agreement, and that's just a functional necessity here. The front yard setbacks also are not currently really clearly defined in your current historic district, the HDR, the Historic District Residential, and CBD. So we are going with, again, establishing that with what is kind of the current, within the area, which is that 0 foot. And then finally, the height restriction. Within the CBD and the HDR currently is a 45-foot height. I know the mayor mentioned some other options at the beginning of this, but really looking at that height from flood protection grade. And that intent of that is to keep a consistent height within this district and also First Street or the rest of downtown. We do not necessarily be taller than that by any means. And really within this, the goal here is to complement, again, downtown and to complement the riverfront. So all of your great assets that you have with that open space and river, combined with the great assets of the historic downtown. And I know Nicole was going to talk about the historic review board here.
Thanks, Amy. And she has to run to another meeting, like she said, so I'm going to go ahead and let her jump off, and then whatever questions you all have, if I can't answer them, I will send them to her in an email. But yeah, so this district is located downtown in the historic district, so it will require Historic Board of Review for all infill as well as any potential demolition on future sites. So those are guided by the Historic District Guidelines. There are several pages that outline what is an appropriate infill as well as the requirements for demolition. One of the things I wanted to highlight is that the whole intention of these guidelines for new construction is not to prevent change, but to make sure that it meets and fits in with the district, because new buildings can eliminate these vacant lots and gaps in the blocks and really strengthen the streetscape and the sense of community. So any building such as the proposed housing project will have to go through a formal review by the Historic District Board of Review, and they will ensure that it meets the context of the historic district. I did want to give a couple of examples, keeping in mind that this PowerPoint was created before the mayor amended our request to 35 feet. So the examples you'll see are much taller than any proposed construction could be in this district. This is Trow Flour Mill. It was located on the site of the Crystal Beach Pool. It stood at 6 1/2 stories tall. It was probably the tallest structure on the riverfront. This is on the Madison coal property. This portion of the building is located actually on the river portion, next to the railroad tracks and then Bond Drive, and then there was a similarly sized structure on the parcel that the city owns on the north side of Bond Drive. Up until the 1990s, 5 tobacco warehouses lined the riverfront, very similar in size. So this picture is from the 1930s. At the corner of Vaughn Drive and West Street stood the new Western Hotel, basically the location of the Bicentennial Park restrooms, and it was also a 2.5, 3-story building. Now, while those have all been demolished, there are existing structures that do meet in line with what our height proposal is. The cotton mill currently stands at 57 feet tall from grade at the base of the structure, not including the incline to the elevation it sits at. And then the Rivercrest Marinas, built in the early 2000s, stand at 52 feet tall. So those are just a couple modern examples of projects that have similar height on why we requested the height we did in the proposed district. But there's other things that this district is going to do. So currently in open space, parks are actually only allowed by conditional use. Our proposed schedule of uses allows all parks by right. So parks like Welch Park that is planned for development can occur without getting additional permits. And then we also want to add to the vibrancy of this district by adding ability to build in along the river out of the floodway. So these properties are buildable according to regulations by DNR and our flood guidelines. They just have to be 2 feet above base flood elevation. So you'll see that's why we have allowed that height to start at base flood, the protection grade. So we wanted to show you the elevation change from First Street, where that white building sits at the corner of First and Jefferson, is in line with the height if they were to build to 45 feet above the flood protection grade on this site. This district also allows other uses that are currently within the district to go from non-contributing to non-contributing. I run a lot of historic board meetings, if you can't tell. Non-conforming to conforming. So we have several residential structures, accessory structures that currently cannot be repaired or get building permits because they are non-conforming. This district allows them to be able to do that. So it's taking all of the current assets also and making sure that they can do the improvements they need to. And then if the board is okay, I'm going to switch from the PowerPoint to the map, and then we can talk about the district as a whole, unless you want me to go back to any of the slides of the PowerPoint for questions.
Let's go to the map.
Can you tell what that flood grade is, like the height of the flood grade that 35 feet is going to go on top of? How much is that? What's the feet on that?
The base flood elevation is different at each parcel. The estimated base flood elevation at Vaughn and Jefferson is 462. It's 12 to 13 feet above is where the 35 feet will start on that particular site.
Versus less than.
Okay, I'm going to stop share.
Just to be clear, the mayor has proposed the district at 35 feet. The renderings that you saw on that slide were still 45 feet above base flood elevation, which is about 12.8 on that parcel. Every parcel, as you watch the flood rivers rise this year, you saw they enter at certain points at certain times, right? So here at the foot of West Street, it's about 8 feet. At Vaughn and Jefferson, it's 12.8. So it does have a little bit of contour throughout this district, but for the most part, it's around a 10 to 12 foot mark.
Patrick, can you see the map?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the current zoning districts as it currently sits. So the white parcels are currently zoned open space. The maroon color is our central business district. Purple is historic district residential, and then the red is general business. So if you overlay the proposed district that is now in teal, you can see that it's a small portion of the downtown district and really meets up with the core area of central business district and historic district residential. It also takes care of the 2 hotel parcels that are split zoned between general business and open space.
This is the Cotton Mill, this is,
Yeah, so Cotton Mill, Riverboat.
What are the blocks and the streets of that?
So this is West Street is to the far west, and then it goes to almost to Ferry Street. So this in the middle is, this is St. Michael's here, East Street, Walnut Street, Jefferson, and Mulberry.
So right now, all of that is general business zone, correct? So you get these new guidelines?
If we can, just to try and, because we've got to, we need to get through the presentation, and then everybody can come up and ask all the questions or whatever, and Josh will kind of keep that meeting in order, but it's really tough to have back and forth at this stage.
And then I just wanted to highlight the current open space, park green space. This is just the view of those parcels that are zoned open space. All of the green is intended to stay park open space. The city does not have any plans to change the use of JC Park, the large green parcel at the east end, Fireman's Park in the middle, or Bicentennial Park or Hargan Matthews. Those will all remain park open space. So you'll see if you toggle that off, it's not going to change the use of those areas. So one of the things I did want to note for the board, this request is to adopt a new zoning map of the entire city in 2-mile buffer. You'll do that practice again if you adopt the Unified Development Ordinance, but this gives staff the ability to pass out a zoning map that is current. The current zoning map that we have accessible as a PDF is from 2016, so it is outdated.
Just a real quick clarification, the only changes though are specifically related to this Riverfront district. Everything else is the map as it currently exists.
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right. Is that in the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, board, do you have questions for the city?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. So can you show the parks again? And then can you cursor over to where the proposed build site would be on the corner of Jefferson and Vaughn? Okay. And your graphic showed earlier that the initial proposed height of the building would be 45 MS or AGL, like above the ground level. And that is in line with the Penguin building?
It is the renderings are 45 feet from flood protection grade, so not from the elevation, ground elevation, but 45 feet from base flood
Right.
protection grade. So it's 57 feet at that particular site.
Okay. However, the graphic still remains true. If there were the 4 stories originally, that would be in line with the building on Jefferson and First?
Roughly in line with the building on Jefferson Street. It also, 45 feet is currently what's able to be built anywhere in downtown. So that was the other reason to keep the 45-foot recommendation. That's currently what's being able to be built downtown. 45 feet right there with the Meyer building is on the left. And that, again, worked out to be, consensus within our committee based upon some of that. But now, your 35-foot height would be about what the left building is on the north side of the site. Because we were stair-stepping the design and articulating the design along Jefferson Street. But the new 35-foot height would be roughly that kind of.
Yeah, so if you look at the street view, this is the street view on Jefferson, or on Vaughn Drive. So that very top layer that's covered mostly with the trees would be removed at the 35-foot level.
And I think we spoke about this before, but a general curiosity, in the architectural and engineering plan, the mitigation for flooding with this building, what kind of, are they doing levees, drainage? Will this affect the overall drainage of Vaughn Drive? Could this have some implications for future flooding, either positively or negatively?
I don't foresee so. Corps of Engineers and DNR, as Nicole has said, and she is our stormwater consultant certified, she can weigh in more, but nothing that we're doing with this parcel will cause any additional flooding. It's one of the things we have to mitigate as a part of any construction in a floodway.
You might want to mention the infrastructure investment we're making for the surrounding area that will address sidewalks, the landscaping, stormwater, and those things.
One of the things I would say, again, I'm trying to stay at a high level in terms of the district rezoning tonight, but we can talk more specifically about the project a little bit. And again, this is only the opportunity that we are pursuing with interested developer. The city council approved up to $1.5 million through the redevelopment commission for infrastructure support for this project, which will be sidewalks, boulevard improvements to Jefferson Street, some improvements to Fireman's Park, sidewalks on the north side connecting this facility to West Street, some improvements along First Street. They have no sidewalks, they have huge stormwater issues, and repaving of the area around the new project. I think you can say that when we've done projects, that investing in the neighborhood and helping those others that are going to be affected has paid us good dividends, and we want to continue to do that. And plus, it's a great opportunity for us to improve for all of the city infrastructure in and around this facility. So you'll see a boulevard here, street trees, as well as sidewalk improvements to this zone. And we would do that along any parts of the riverfront that would ultimately get developed.
And I don't want to get too granular either, but there are some things I want to weigh in terms of applying this to a rezoning or not, is perhaps any adjustment in traffic patterns. Is there any predictive analysis been given to how this might affect traffic flow? Are there any considerations to stoplights or stop signs?
Yeah, you'll have 53 new residents in that area. I've spent a lot of time as the mayor sitting down there. We are making some improvements to Vaughn Drive as a part of a number of projects. The city council, I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag, will soon be receiving some information as to some three-way stops along Vaughn Drive. I think many of us would say that it's a wide open stretch and a lot of people take advantage of that. Having fun, which you want to encourage, but not at the expense of other people. So we will be making a recommendation for three-way stop at Jefferson Street and Vaughn Drive to help with some traffic issues, as well as making some other improvements to like the alleyway just to the east of the structure potentially. Again, we have to assess all of the infrastructure with any project that goes anywhere in town, and this project would be no different. We'll do that and make the right calls as we have with our other projects to ensure the infrastructure's designed right for the capacity and the need that exists.
Is it 53 residents with the one story less though? I thought it was 53
Well,
with the
it won't be now, so we'll have to, thank you. I've been working.
Sorry.
I've been working with different numbers for quite a while, so it will be whatever those developments, whatever those units are, those will be the number of cars that we'll have to deal with.
And you did say the
Will
sidewalk.
this be like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom units? How will that be divvied up?
He's getting it, Patrick. He's not. Just so you know.
Okay.
Again, Patrick, the numbers have changed, and again, this deal or any other deal would go through the same process, right? So the current proposal is for 660 square foot, what they call studios. 1 bedroom, 1 bath at 790. Some of those would be about 810 too, depending on where they are. Again, these are averages, not exact. and then about 1,100 to 1,200 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments. Again, the mayor mentioned on this project specifically that we are currently in conversations with. The rent for a 1-bedroom would be about $1,350, and a 2-bedroom about $2,000. So again, market rate, these are not affordable. What I would also say is that we feel very important.
Please keep your comment, please.
We feel very important that affordability is considered in these, and we would be asking for a percentage of those units to be set aside at an 80% AMI for downtown. So Patrick, I can't give you, what I can tell you is there's about, in the 53 model, there would have been about 18 or 22 bedrooms, about 24 1-bedrooms, and about 12 1-bedroom or studio flats.
You'll probably lose around, we're estimating around 15 units by going to a 3-story.
But I don't know what that mix is.
But we've also, it would be important to remember that just because of the number of units, there'll be multiple people living in most of these, so we could see upwards of 100 people living in this building with multiple vehicles as well.
Yeah, I guess you could, yes, sir. I mean, we have 17 2-bedrooms, so it'll probably go down to somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 2-bedrooms.
So can you give us a general sense of what the parking plan is?
Yeah, the parking plan, I don't have a drawing of that, do we? Do you have a? So the parking plan, Rick, is really fairly simple. So in all our projects in downtown, we've been able to incorporate on-street and off-street parking. And Nicole, I'll need you to, we are in the process of updating our parking requirements, so I'll defer to you to tell me what is required.
Currently, for multifamily, it's two spaces per unit. The national standard has moved to 1 space per unit, so that will be what we will be recommending in the Unified Development Ordinance. Currently, it would need to obtain 2 spots per unit until that's passed.
But we feel confident on the 1 spot per unit would all be parked on site under the building, right? So this has got a podium, 12 feet, about 10 feet clear, and then you'll have some mechanicals and stuff. If you've ever been under a hotel with parking on the first floor, this would be very similar. Parking under the structure for the most part. And then we look at needing, right now, there's no parking on Vaughn Drive on the north side in front of this. It would be on Jefferson Street if there was any other spaces.
How many parking places are there in the basement proposed for this? Do you know that?
I know there's, I don't have that count right with
Okay.
me, so I apologize, I don't want to misstate, but the goal is to park with adjacent parking as we've done before with other projects or under the building.
Okay. But there are several parking places.
Oh, yeah,
under the building.
I believe, and I don't want to overstate this, I don't have it in front of me, I didn't look at parking counts today, but initially it was our goal is to get one car per unit. Again, there's some golf cart things, and there's dog washing stations, and other elevator and trash rooms, so the goal was to try to get at least 1 car per unit under the building.
I will just note for the record that this zoning update is not asking for any changes to the requirements of parking.
Right.
It's only adding the district. They will still have to comply with the rest of the zoning ordinance in terms of off-street parking.
Yeah, so again, any project that's done in the district, when that project's ready to go, will have to conform with the standards that you, the Plan Commission, and the City Council establishes. And the timing of those or the variances requested, will have to come as a part of that process. We currently have the UDO hopefully being scheduled to go in front of City Council later in Q3. If any projects come about sooner, we'll have to go through the legal process to follow the rules at which the time we apply for that project, whether it's on this site or another site in the district.
So basically, the floodplain, would actually be the parking area. Like the flood we had this year would probably have been just inside the parking.
Yeah, matter of fact, the developer is fully aware and has seen several pictures and had his team down here while the water was at its height before it crests. On this particular parcel, he's not concerned about that because we would build it appropriate and take the necessary precautions for entrances and exits for those times as well as the times when it's not flooded. So we certainly are aware of that. We have to have fire protection and we have to have egress for all that. That'll all be required at times of flood and when it's not flooded.
The whole intention of a zoning ordinance is to ensure that you're not going to create a zoning district that requires a lot of variances from development standards. That's why we propose to start the height requirement at the flood protection grade, because in this district, the floodplain ordinance does not allow any structures, livable units, to be within that floodplain district. So that height is in line with the rest of the buildable portions of downtown, taking into account the peculiarity of the Riverfront district.
Nicole, the way this is stated right now, it's an all or nothing on the open spaces. We're talking specifically about this one space at Jefferson Street, but we're talking,
It's for the district.
it's for the whole
Yeah,
entire
again, it is, we're asking, if this project may or may never happen, right? But we're asking for the district to be rezoned and giving the opportunity for the city of Madison to grow its housing and its livability along our riverfront as a part of this request to you.
So yes, Jerry, the request is for all of the teal district to have the standards that are before you.
Just that part?
Yes, just the teal district.
And the open space, is not changing from what we currently have. The park open space is not changing, nor are we asking for anything to change on the south side of On Drive.
Any other questions from the board?
I think it's important that we note, we had a similar conversation just a little over 3 years ago on this same rezoning. And from my notes on that conversation, the open space in this area has been zoned as open space since 1981 for Darrell Henderson. Having this area zoned as open space is what has allowed us over the past 40 or 50 years to turn a riverfront from a blighted mess, from what I've been told it was before I was born, into the great open park space that we have now. And I think this sort of drastic change in this new district is much more than what we should be looking for in this area. The existing structures, we definitely need to find a way to make more flexibility for the people who own those existing structures. But for areas that are already zoned as open space with no structures on them, I think it would be a mistake for us to move away from maintaining those as open space, especially the specific property here at Jefferson and Vaughn, the city owns, which could easily be turned into a nice useful green space that everybody in the city can enjoy. I've had more comments on this specific change than anything I've heard of in my 5-6 years on council. And I could count on one hand the number of people who have spoken with me in favor of this, but I've heard from probably at least 100 people directly, conversations that I've had with them that are entirely opposed to new developments on our riverfront.
All right. Anything else from the board before I move to the audience? All right, so this time I'm going to give the audience a chance to come up and voice your thoughts on the district. Please keep it to the district rezone, because that's what we are considering. We're not considering the actual project that they've been talking about down there. We're considering the actual redistricting. And then, we're going to keep a 3-minute time limit, because I think there may be a lot of people, and we want to, make sure that we value people's time to be able to talk. We do have a BZA meeting after this that has to occur as well tonight, so we got to be respectful of that meeting coming up. But we do want to hear from the community, so I'm not, wanting to necessarily cut you off. I just want you to understand, what we have going on this evening. And then if you would also, when people are talking, please don't, moan or, create reactions because you like or you don't like what they are saying. I think it's important that we are respectful of everyone that comes up because I think it's already hard enough to come up to the mic and talk. And so, I definitely want to make sure people feel comfortable enough to come up and voice their opinion either way this evening. So, with that, I'm going to open up the mic to anyone that would like to come up and talk. If you would, state your name and address for us so we can get it for the record.
First of all, I want to make sure I'm speaking into the microphone so people can hear me. It's terrible when we sit back there and we can't hear what people are saying. My name is Jarrett Boyd. I live at 111 East 3rd Street. I moved to Madison in 1912 after retiring as director of the library in Carrollton, Kentucky. So I've been coming to Madison for many, many years. In comments made online and at last week's meeting, there were comparisons to this apartment development as being like the hotel, and perhaps in the design would be the same. I'd like to point out that the hotel is on a very different site at a higher elevation to begin with than this site, which will be right flat with the river. And also I'd like to say that this would be an imitation, not the real thing. And I think it's not a good idea to, let's imitate the hotel with its wonderful beams inside and the way that it does look. It was interesting to see the old pictures of a very industrial, probably very dirty and polluted riverfront that we saw tonight. Right now, it's a wonderful site, and we do have the flooding, but it's allowed to flood and then recede. And it is a mess for the city to clean up, but it can be done. In other places like Paducah and Maysville, Kentucky, they erect flood walls. I wonder how long it will be before a flood wall will come so that more development could come along this rezoned property. I would also like to speak just very quickly to adaptive reuse of buildings. The hotel is a wonderful example of an adaptive reuse. The Vintage Lanes, which we all are so pleased to have in town, is an adaptive reuse. Morgan and Ney Funeral Home, I suspect, is an adaptive reuse. It was probably, I'm thinking it might have been a home at one time. There are other buildings on Main Street that may have been private homes that are now have other uses. It saves old buildings. The Mad Paddle is another example of an adaptive reuse. Along the river, we don't have to do the adaptive reuse on many other buildings down there. Rezoning will start a domino effect that we will have one new building, another new building, another new building, and then people will want to have a flood wall to keep from getting flooded every 4, 5, 10 years. Parking will be an issue. Every one of those units will have 2 vehicles, I can almost guarantee you, except for the 1-bedroom efficiencies. Right now, all over town, there are parking problems. There are people saying that we have the shortage of houses in the city. 53 units down there on the river are not going to solve that problem. There are houses for sale all over the city.
I need you to wrap up if you can.
All over the city, but people can't afford them. I'd like to live at Panama City Beach, but I can't afford to live there, so I say there's a shortage of housing. At least there's a shortage of housing that I can afford. Most people I hear want to live downtown on the river. Might not be possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Stacer. I reside at 518 East 2nd Street. Forgive me if I don't look at you. I brought prepared remarks. I'd like to speak about the Cole property. It is said it will provide market rate housing. I wonder who will move into this market rate housing. If I were a high-income person like the executives, managers, and professionals that were mentioned earlier, I would not want to live in a small apartment. I would want to live in a big house. If I were a family with children, I would not want to live in a small apartment. I would want a house with a yard. If I were retired or living on a fixed income, I would not want to live in market rate housing because I couldn't afford increases in the rent. So what if the 53 units are not all rented? Less rental income means less money for maintenance. What if the property is inadequately maintained? Do we want to have a maintenance problem in the center of town? I say no. Someone's already mentioned the number of cars in the parking, so I won't do that again. The 56 couples, 53 units worth of couples, they'll produce trash. Will Madison need to pay more for trash collection? It would block the views of abutters. I don't think that's fair to the people who already live here. The Cole property project will impose costs on Madison. Who will pay those costs? We current residents will. And is that fair? I say no. The Cole property was compared to the cotton mill, but that is not a fair comparison. The cotton mill has been there since 1884. No living human lost a view because of its construction. It's hundreds of feet back from Vaughn Drive and does not loom over Vaughn Drive, whereas the Cole property would loom, and I thank Patrick Teveno for using balloons to illustrate the height of the Cole property. The Cole property was compared to the Myers & Son building at 200 Jefferson, but that is not a fair comparison. The Myers building has been there since 1877. No living human lost a view because of its construction. Previous speakers compared the Cole property to buildings that existed before the 1937 flood, but that is also not a fair comparison. For the last 88 years, which is longer than most of us have been alive, Madison has prospered with the existing riverfront, and I see no reason to change it now. I oppose any new large structures near the riverfront. Large structures would completely change the character and feel of the riverfront. I walk by the riverfront every evening that's good weather. What if residents decide not to spend time at the riverfront? What if tourists don't like it and they don't come to Madison? There will be less revenue for the innkeeper's tax. There will be less revenue for businesses on Main Street. That's not a win. I doubt anybody sitting here or on the city council meeting last week want their names to go down in history as the people who ruined the riverfront.
Could please, that's louder than I thought. Just please wrap up. No, you can
One
wrap up.
second. I urge you to represent all of the people in Madison who took the time to come here and vote against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Georgie Kelly, 922 West Main Street. Just a couple of observances. Have you ever been to Kingfish down in Jeffersonville? They have apartment buildings right on the other side of the street, and it's like a huge white wall all along the river, all through that area. And there's nothing you can see behind it, or really from side to side because of the width of it. That's, to me, what would happen if all those green or teal spaces were fill in. Right there on the river, Vaughn Drive, we would have walls that are buildings of some sort. The other thing is, I don't think we could compare the height of the buildings that had been here back a long time ago that were factories and warehouses, because we had river traffic at that time. They were there because of the river traffic. They didn't have to go up into town or up on the hill to pick up the pigs. They picked them up right down here on the river. So that's really not a fair comparison. When I go to anything on the river, primarily the regatta, because everybody goes hopefully to the regatta, and you're walking from one end of the street to the other, it's totally open. It's like sunshine. And I come home along the river every Sunday afternoon, and this is my statement. I thank God for birthing me in Madison. And that's why we live in an incredible place, and this is just one of them that makes us happy to live here.
Thank you.
Mark Timmons. I live at 810 East 2nd Street. I also have another house at 316 East 1st Street, which the backside is right behind the property by the old quartermaster's quarters. My concern is, with that particular property, is it will not block my view of the river, but it will restrict it, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But I also wanted to speak to the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that you cannot control the river when it floods. You can mitigate till the cows come home, but the river's going to do what the river's going to do. Outside of building a flood wall, I don't know how you'd ever stop that from happening and affecting that type of living community. And even if it did, with the flood that we just saw, those people are either trapped in their homes or can't get in and out. So I don't know how you would mitigate that. Maybe there's a plan. There's a lot of things I don't know about it and don't understand. But I also want to point out that from what I see here tonight, the issue is to open up the existing zoning, but there's no specific set in stone at this point. Am I correct? So as I understand it, the zoning commission will have to be updated as things progress, because at this point you really can't nail down specifics, and some things you're not going to know until you get into that construction process and find things out that you didn't know before. So is it my understanding correct that the zoning commission and the planning commission, who all these people working together, will continually update that process as it goes forward? Instead of saying right now, if you just say, okay, we're going to vote this in tonight, does that mean the city has carte blanche to do whatever they want, or does these individual rules and regulations going to have to be put in place as it goes forward?
Well, just so you know, if there's a vote tonight on this, then that just means that this board is voting to either have a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation or no recommendation. They can vote either of those three things, of which then goes to city council. City council then has to have 2 readings on it to actually vote it in for it to actually be effective.
Okay, but if that happens,
just want to make sure.
excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yep.
But if that happens, is that, at some point, is there some oversight? Does this committee have some sort of oversight into all these new zoning changes that are going to take place, where more public input, the board input, the people that are in the area that are going to be involved in making these changes? I mean, will they be on a continual basis being able to have those opportunities to input as it goes forward?
Yeah, you're going to have the historic board, which is what they talked about before. So before anything can be built or taken down on any property, the historic board would have to approve it. Okay, so that's one oversight.
Right.
Certainly with setbacks and things like that, with us, that's what we would see, is things, if they're asking for different setbacks, then, we would come into play for the planning commission, or change of zoning. With this one, they're asking for a multi-use zoning, so there are different uses for each lot that could be utilized with this proposal.
I have one more question.
Yeah, and it really depends on the use.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
the use of the property.
And this may be too far out to even ask, but my question is, if you open this zoning up, and I don't know what it's going to be zoned to, that's how little I know about it, but is that also going to open the riverfront up to things like chain restaurants, things of that nature? Or is it going to be restricted to strictly residential?
Well, right now, this is a multi-use, so there could be commercial, certainly with that, yes.
So that door would be open?
That's what the zoning would allow for.
Okay, well, that's what I want to know.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm Angie Lobb. I have 213 Jefferson Street. Thanks to the council last week for clarifying and kind of laying the groundwork, but I'm still getting a lot of, so we're here so you can do a yay or nay. And if you nay it, it goes back to the council who's already approved it, right? The plan.
No matter whatever our vote is tonight, it's going to go to city council. So it's
Okay.
going to go to city council as a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation, or it could be no recommendation, but that still goes to city council then.
And the city council has not approved anything as it
Right.
pertains to zoning or use or anything like that.
As well, they shouldn't, right? Because you got all
Right.
these other commissions.
That's right.
That's
Right, yeah, this is step one, so the council reviewed a bond that referenced some of the projects in this area.
And this is only about
The zoning.
the zoning.
Yeah.
Correct.
Not those 4 projects that y'all approved the loan for or
Correct.
whatever last week.
Yes.
Gotcha. And currently, this is zoned,
There's a variety of parcels in here. Most of them are zoned open space. There are some that are zoned central business district, some are zoned historic district residential, and some are a mixture of one of those 3.
okay, because I couldn't find a current zoning map on. Will this PowerPoint be available for folks to look at a little closer?
We can make it available, yes.
That would be nice, because it's hard to read from back there. When I looked through the plans of information that you have before you, the only mention of the historic board that I saw was the approval of signage, which that was all that I saw in that plan. And yet you've said that the historic board would have a bigger role in what developers go into these. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the parking, the zoning for parking now, as a conditional use permit for a short-term rental, I was told you had to have a car space for every bedroom.
It depends on the use. There's a table in the current zoning ordinance about required off-street parking, and so it depends on the use. So, for example, a residential multifamily home requires 2 spaces per unit.
Okay, so if we're looking 35 beds or 35 units, regardless of the flood area down below, all of that's going to flow up to already no parking for the rest of downtown, and that's a big concern. Obviously, the biggest concern is the location and the height, and how that will block existing homeowners that have toiled and gone through all the processes over the years to put the right kind of windows in, to put the right kind of vinyl, no vinyl,
I'm going to ask
sorry.
you to wrap up, Angie, if you could, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you didn't have to stop right then, but I just want you just want to wrap up. Thanks.
I'll try to answer one of your questions. How's that?
Well,
The
I don't know.
Parking, just so you know, a block away is the Jefferson Street parking lot. Is across the street. And that Jefferson Street parking lot, according to the recent parking study, is about 30% full at any one given time. So we know that there's capacity for parking in the area.
The courthouse workers would probably have a little to say. Anyway.
Thank you.
I'd like to consider, so zoning, this isn't even on the zoning's agenda tonight, right? The
Was it?
zoning board.
No,
What-
it is not on there.
Yeah, it's not on the BZA's board. Okay, yeah, okay, that's what you meant. Okay, no.
And each of these parcels would have to go.
Can you move that mic just a little bit towards you? Move it.
Most people don't have a problem with me.
I know, but they're hearing it on kind of speaker out there, so
Okay.
that's why.
I guess I'm done.
All right.
This
That's
is
all-
tiring. I mean, you need a flow chart of the different committees and processes and
It's
who
a lot.
goes what. And I'm concerned because what I read or the feeling is it's a done deal and it doesn't really matter. And that's a concern because I've lived here all my life, and the Madison Mafia, which has run our town, seem to be gone. But this is concerning to me that I know it had to go through from the financial tip and ready aspect. There was a sense of urgency. But the rest of this should not be as urgent as that need to get the money spent before the TIF runs out.
And I might just add that it's not a done deal. There's a sequence of events and a lot of public meetings, and this is the first start of all those public meetings. I mean, there's going to be, as he said tonight, this Plan Commission meeting, 2 city council meetings. If anything does get built after this district, if it's approved, has to go through Historic District Board of Review, so there's also project oversight on each development. And I want everybody here to understand too, is that we all care about our community just like you do. And we're all trying to figure out solutions to our problems. And all of this is about collaboration. So, it's unfortunate, candidly, that just bringing up the topic creates so much division instead of conversation. More opposition than proposals. And I would love it if somebody would bring a counter proposal. I mean, we're just talking about what can we do, highlighting the issues, and it may be we decide, let's just do nothing, and that's going to be okay. Madison will be fine, but we aren't addressing our needs in the future. So that's why we're here, and I'm not aware of a Madison mafia. I'm certainly not part of it, but we're happy everybody is here and giving their input, and we're all listening.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I think there are alternatives that will enhance what we already have. It would require investment and effort. Museum on riverboats like BB has, something that blends in with the culture and supports the community as opposed to, and I understand we got housing issues and it's a frozen and you have to shift it all around, but location, location, location. West End could be developed. Let's put money in infrastructure to take that business down there that's pretty open.
And I'll just lastly mention, Madison's a regional destination. This is an important community for the state of Indiana and our Regional Development Authority, which is why they're also investing in Madison through their READY grants.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Randy Bellamy, 409 East 3rd Street. You're talking about investments. My wife and I, we've invested in this community. We put a lot of our own money into it in order to live downtown. A lot of other people have too. And that's the kind of investment we need. We don't need other people bringing a bunch of money in. I don't think so anyway, in order for us to be who we are and who we want to be. That's just my opinion, but I'm going to leave it at that. However, on the zoning all of that differently than it is, a lot of that is already residences along there that you're wanting to change the zoning on. So, but you're going to make it so that it's allowable to put in taller buildings, more population density, and I think that, Madison is landlocked on the riverfront. There is only so much riverfront there. Why do we, and everybody wants to live there, but it's not possible. And I don't think that that changing the zoning is going to solve any of our problems. So I don't see why you think that we need to change it in order to allow them to do what they want. Because if you change the zoning, any of those places could eventually be what we're not liking about the first one. I do not understand the necessity of it all and why it has to go so quickly, and we can't talk about it, and we can't have discussions, and we can't have other people put their input in. I have a question. How many on this board are Republicans?
That's not.
No, raise your hands if you're a Republican.
Randy, we're not going to do
Did you take a Republican ballot in the election?
Randy, we're not going to.
No.
Keep it to the district.
There's a reason I'm asking this.
Well, I understand, but you keep it to the district.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I asked a valid question, and there is a reason for it, and I will tell the reason. How many of you are Republicans? You took a Republican ballot in the primary. Any of you didn't?
Rhetorical analysis is there.
No. The thing is, our boards are supposed to be balanced in some way, politically, and this is not. This is not representative of Madison here. How many women are there in Madison?
All right. You need to wrap up,
How many
Randy.
women did you have up there?
Randy, you need to wrap up, please.
Why is mine going to be cut off and she got to talk for half an hour? Excuse me? I'm making sense.
All right, hey, let's keep it civil, please.
No, I'm just saying, you guys, I am very bothered by the way this city goes about things and does things, because all of us feel like we have no say-so. None of us feel like we have anything that we get to make a decision on. And when we do, we get cut down and laughed at, and you, sir, are the one that did it, to me.
I disagree, sir, and your decorum tonight is not acceptable, so please keep your decorum to
Excuse
the
me, my
respect of
decorum
this.
is no worse than yours has been. Not necessarily tonight, but in the past.
All right, Randy, we need to
What
move
I'm
on.
going to,
We need to let
I'm
other
going to
people
make
come
my one
up.
point, okay? We don't need it. We don't need the change in the zoning that you guys have proposed and that is in here.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Deanna Shelley. I live at 120 Wall Street. And for a little change of pace, I'll start with that Madison is the Midwest, Charleston, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. Okay. Madison is the Midwest, Charleston, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. Do you think either one of those cities would propose something of this magnitude in such a special spot? So, now, I've had to make a lot of corrections from the evening. So, the city of Madison has arrived at one of those pivotal moments in time, whether to continue honoring our historic heritage in our downtown or not. The proposal before you is not so much about housing, maybe more about big bucks. Stepping into our living museum that blesses the downtown and blesses all our lives. If new housing is needed, the Hilltop is the ideal place. There's plenty of room. Up there, there can be no harm done, but not so in our downtown. There are many steps in the process of clearing such a huge proposal. They are there for a very good reason. Should one fail, another is in place to make the correction. I urge you to deny this proposal. We are not talking about one unit, and even one unit is intolerable. Once this door is opened, there will be more. The precedent will have been set. It will devastate our peaceful, serene river atmosphere. I wish I didn't have to appear before you, but too much is at stake to be silent, and it makes me very nervous. We all are looking for the best interest of our city. I thank you for serving the city and protecting Madison's little bit of paradise below the hills. Our future lies in our past. Let's protect the integrity of the downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello, my name's Amy Stewart.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
We've had a lot of very good speakers tonight, and I agree with all of them so far. My address is 1812 Blackmore Street. We're supposed to say that. And for anybody trying to think where 1812 Blackmore is downtown, it's not. I want to bring up the point that I come down to Madison all the time, downtown Madison. They're almost like two separate states. But we come down, us hilltoppers, we do come down to downtown Madison. We come to the Riverfront, the dog park, walk on the river, the restaurants. We come down here, spend our time, spend our money. When I invite friends and family from out of town, I don't invite them in to come see Hobby Lobby. I don't invite them, I like Hobby Lobby, I go there, but I don't invite them for all those things. I invite them in and say, hey, you've got to come to this festival we're having. That area is used during festivals for parking, for setup areas. It is used. Could it be cleaned up? Yeah. They did a beautiful thing with the park right next to, or with the parking area next to Kiwanis and Bicentennial Park. You know, clean it up. That would be great. There's got to be other uses. It could be, I mean, I don't know if any other uses were even considered with a consulting firm. But I just wanted to make the point for Hilltop folks, you know, I wanted to let you know, we come down for the beauty and the charm of downtown Madison. I do agree with the mayor that he said the riverfront is an asset. It is. He didn't say it could be an asset if we do all these things. Right now, as it is, it's an asset. It's what we've been promoting. It's what people come to see. I agree with all these people that have said it's beautiful as it is, and the domino effect, once you start it, it'll keep going. It'll change downtown. I feel like I had another point, but I've got to be somewhere else. I just wanted to make sure I got my point said. Surely one of these other fine people will bring, oh, I wanted to bring up the consulting firm, yes. I am sure they did a very good job in their reports and everything. It's their job, but they're not the citizens of the town. You're here to act on behalf of the citizens, and the consulting is just that. They just consult and they give their findings, but I really believe the emphasis needs to be on the wants and wishes and the people of the town, even those of us on the hilltop. We come down here too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Debbie Beeman, Walnut Street. I am Republican. I'm Republican through and through. I actually like a lot of you Democrats that I know. But the thing to me is, when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, because I thought, oh no, once that starts. You know, but there's a limited space down there. I feel like, guys, that we're just beating our heads against the wall. Something's eventually going to happen down there. And I'd rather be a part of that and knowing what's going on and having a voice in it than having people come in here and do whatever the hell they want. So that's just my opinion. Let's stay open-minded. This is not about politics to me at all. Patrick, where are you?
He's right there.
Yeah, are you there? I debate with that one all the time. I debate with this one all the time. It's not about that, y'all. It's coming. I think it's coming, you guys. I don't think we're going to stop this riverfront, no matter who's in charge or any of that. It's going to come, I think. But I want to be a part of that decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Kathy Hale. I live at 1212 West 2nd Street. I built a new home downtown in front of the condo building about 5 years ago. And I wanted to take issue with something a gentleman a few moments ago said, where the people came today like we're all here against it. I'm not here for it or against it. I came to listen with an open mind because I believe that we have to look at what to do with our future. Now, the gentleman wanted to know for who's Republicans. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican. I choose what I want on the ballot box and I split my ticket. I've never voted a straight ticket. So I'm not Democrat or Republican, and I believe it's not an issue, just like she said. I do appreciate the fact that, and the other thing that the lady said about you can't harm the hilltop, well, I take great issue with that. I'm 70 years old, born and raised in Madison, and I lived on the hilltop until 5-6 years ago when I built downtown. And right exactly where I lived, where my son now lives, the apartment complex is going in behind there. He's not happy, I'm sure. I'm speaking for me. If I was still living there, I wouldn't be happy about the apartment complex, but people have to live somewhere. So it's always not in my backyard, but it has to go somewhere. There's not affordable rent, there's not enough houses, so I'm here with an open mind, and I don't want other people speaking for me, and I appreciate the fact of the innovative thinking that's gone into this, and I want to hear it through so I can make my own decision and not other people speak for me.
Thank you.
I'm Alan Long, 120 East Main Street. I've had gifts that last for 37 years, longer than almost anybody in downtown Madison. I think this will hurt tourism tremendously. It will destroy the view of the riverfront. We will no longer be the #1 city in the Midwest because it's going to look like any other town. We're not going to have a beautiful riverfront no more. And parking. According to the guy that came in for the Main Street program, did the parking survey years ago, he said every parking space in a downtown area like this is worth $400 per day for the merchants. It's like the Mulberry parking lot. Those 2 electric charging stations, according to him, cost the downtown Madison $300,000 every year because it's not parked. We don't have parking there. We don't need more people living downtown in this area because it destroys parking. Business downtown is not good right now. I have watched hundreds, probably 500-600 or more stores come and go in the last 37 years. I've seen some that, they should have went out of business. They had no clue. But I've seen some very good businesses move in from other areas, and they're, you talk about the tourism. We don't have that many tourists. The traffic is not that good. I've been here 37 years. I've lived it. We don't need this to go on, and you're just opening Pandora's box. We don't know what it could be. We know what it is right now, but we don't know how bad it could get. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Shelley Murphy-Smith. I live at 418 East 2nd Street. I had a lot of remarks prepared, and one of them is a great proposal for that space, but since I'm limited to 3 minutes, I'm not going to go into it, but I will bring it up, but I'd love to discuss some other options, and I think there's a lot of people in the community who have other ideas. But this has brought up some more other ideas in my mind as I'm thinking about this. This is rezoning for multiple use. That means it could be chain restaurants. It means it could be gas stations. It means it could be a multiple of things. We open up that corner for one place, then what's to say everything else is opened up? Amendments and variances can be made and they can be had. It is a pain, but for people that have problems in residences, it can be done if they need to redo it. The rezoning is not really necessary. I think the big issue is not only the height of this building, it is that prominent corner in our entryway to the river. All of this rezoning is only from West Street to that end of the town. It's not including the whole riverfront. There are certain places that are not going to be affected by it, which I think is convenient. If it's such a good thing, then why is it not the whole riverfront? Also, approving this rezoning could cause that domino effect. You know, we have all these multiple uses. People could go in, let's say, oh, I've got this house here. Hey, I'm going to sell it to you, and you could build what you want there. High-end luxury apartments are not going to benefit our community as many other ideas would that could be implemented on this lot. I've put some very strong thought into a great idea that I think could bring in tourism. I think it could bring in income. 53 apartments, even if you change the parking amendment, that's 53 parking spaces to 106 parking spaces. When there's a flood, where are they going to park all their cars? When there's a flood, if they can't go into their homes and they can't stay in their homes, where are those people going to be displaced to? Where are they going to go? If they can't be in their building, they can't get to their building, they can't. The option about wanting to know what happens with flood water when that building is put there, and it's a big footprint. It's 0 feet from the riverfront. It's very few feet on the side. It's taking up pretty much that whole lot. So when you think about Archimedes' principle, which is the principle of why objects float and sink and displacement of water, a huge building that big is going to displace water. When you displace water, as well as you guys know, you put something in water, it gets right higher. So you take up that whole corner with a huge building, all that water that would usually flow there and keep it down a little higher is going to go higher. So it's displacement, it's facts, it's science. So where are these people going to go during a flood? Where's their cars going to go during a flood? We already have trouble with parking. If it's truly housing availability, then there are other locations we could use. $1,500 to $2,000 is what I've looked at as market rate rental. Not many people could afford that.
Can you wrap up?
Yeah, and I would love to talk about an option. I think a local farmer's market, taking it away from Broadway, where there's constricted parking, there's constricted land space, there is streets that get closed. I think bringing it to the riverfront, there are many communities. I love to travel. I go to those communities. I look for museums. I look for history. I look at their farmers markets. I've been to some phenomenal things that could happen on that riverfront. Vendors, artisans, local food trucks, things every weekend, drawing tourists into our community. You could even open it up to our wedding campaign in town. People could get married there. They could be a venue. It could be amazing. I've got lots of ideas. I have them here. I was going to talk about it. Can't do it now because I don't have it. But 35 feet, even that height, on top of 12 feet to 13 feet, is still a very large footprint.
Okay.
It's not like when you look at the views of the river, you see those maps where you can kind of look up and see the way the river goes. You're not going to be able to see part of that now. And when you start to add it, it's going to block even more.
I assume, Mayor, you'd be willing to meet with her
I'd love to talk about some ideas.
about these things later at
And
time?
I think there's a lot of people in our community, I think if you opened it up, gave some community input, I think people would come to you with other ideas, and I think there could be support. I would be on a meeting for that. I think a lot of people would.
Thank you.
I'm totally open to that, and I would just say that the reason we're here today is because that area has been completely uninvested in.
Yeah.
And I know we see different things.
Yeah. But I will.
I know we see different. We see different things when we're on Vaughn Drive, but we all care about the riverfront, and I do greatly, as well as our historic district in the whole city. And we're here to be talking about what can we do, because maybe can we all agree that if you're on Vaughn Drive looking at the north side, that what is that we all see, that's not sustainable. We have voids, vacant properties. This lot that we purchased, the city purchased, was a junkyard for 20 or 30 years. Nothing had been done with it. Now we're trying to say, let's bring some solutions to the table. That's what all this discussion's about.
And I agree with that, but I do think that I did have a great proposal to bring up, but they did make up the point that it's an issue of rezoning. So I wanted to focus on the rezoning issue, but I think that it could really be opened up to think about other options that people are opposed to. And I appreciate you guys being on these councils, but I really hope that you do listen to us, and I know more people are for not doing this than they are for it. I think a lot of the other proposals are fine, but I do want to say that there are, I know it has to go other places, but I was at the city council meeting, and I heard one of the people even say, sometimes I listen to my constituents, but if I know that it might not be in the best interest, I'm not always going to vote for them. So I want people to hear what we're saying. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
be brief. Dave Dagger, 217 East 4th Street. Just want you all to know that I'm against any zoning change that does away with the open space on the river. I think that's what makes our river. And I also like to remind you that there's an aquifer that we get our water from that runs along the north side of the river. We had a similar proposal back in the 80s to put a hotel with a restaurant on what's now Bicentennial Park. But we had to do some drilling, and the drill went down about 20 feet, and then it hit a void and dropped another 15 feet. So I think before we do anything, we need to think about that, Tony. That's all I got to say. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dave.
Good evening, everybody.
Can you turn it back on? It got bumped, I think. Thank you.
Karen Skillman, 1505 Michigan Road on the Hill. And I too come downtown. My husband and I moved here because of downtown and the riverfront and the historic district. What I would like for you guys to do is scrap Exhibit A that you have before you. All it is the R32 high-density zoning classification turned into a new zoning district that you're going to call Riverfront. I think you need to do the entire riverfront. It doesn't make sense to me to have a riverfront that's only half-zoned riverfront. I don't get that. Doesn't make sense. So do the whole thing as a zoning classification, a new district. And within that district, you've got open space. You've got the parks. You've got the historical buildings. You've got everything that you've got. And then in this area, you change this to a lower density housing, not the high density housing. What is being proposed here being that, like right now, the highest density in Madison is 32 dwelling units per acre. This thing is not quite an acre as far as I understand it, and there's 53 zoning units being proposed. It's too big, it's too bulky, it's too dense, it's wrong for the riverfront, it's wrong for Madison. It's ugly, for one thing. It's going to wall in Vaughn Drive. When I first heard about this, I thought, just don't wall in Vaughn Drive. And this is going to wall in Vaughn Drive. So what you guys should do is don't even vote no, or you're three, yes, no, or nothing. Table this, work on it, come back, add restrictions for residential in those areas, especially the two properties that we hear about. Add real restrictions. This classification should be more restrictive, not less. And right now, the way it stands, it's no restrictions except height. We don't want to put this into constant variations, constant fighting over the developer with the city. Fix it now, make it restricted. You'll save time in the future. Don't think that this and the high density is your only option. As the lady prior said, there's plenty of things we can do. Now, we're not going to get housing by doing the ones and twos. But I think we need to think more like 10s and 20s rather than 50s. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jan Beatrice. I live at 701 East 2nd Street, and I would just echo what she said. I think you guys, given the huge crowd outside that we can barely hear, I would suggest that you table this and make a much more thorough presentation at the Brown Gym for the next meeting, and that you explain to us why the comprehensive plan that we as a community worked on in 2017 is no longer valid, and why a new plan that we haven't even heard about is suddenly the way we have to go. So please, table this, reschedule a meeting for the Brown Gym, put out a lot of publicity, and please make realistic drawings that show what it's going to look like from Vaughn Drive and why we need to change the zoning. So there are things we need to change. We're not disagreeing with that. But we don't like the fact that we don't know what it is. We spent a lot of time on that comprehensive plan before, and we did have a lot of meetings at the Brown Gym, and people got to vote on what they needed and what they thought was important. This does not feel like it is a community-involved thing, so please don't mess it up. You don't want this to be your legacy. Table it for now, schedule a meeting at the Brown Gym with lots of publicity and some realistic drawings of what you plan. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Anthony Kidd.
Will you hit that?
Yep.
Got it now? All right. My name's Anthony Kidd. I live at 624 West Street. I've lived in Madison for about the past 5 years, but I've been here basically all my life. It's home just as it is to all of us. And, I don't want to speak for everyone because I can't do that. But I think with this in particular, we talked about a lot of opposition and how there wasn't a lot of conversation. Me specifically, I felt a little shocked whenever I heard about this, as I think the rest of us did. And I think, just like Jan said, seeing more openness and willingness to communicate with the citizens, maybe a town hall event, and really get everyone's input. I think that's all we want here. We all want to see Madison succeed. We all just have different views of what success is. And I think really coming to that middle ground and just trying to find out what suits, the future needs of the city, but also what caters to everyone that's lived here for 10, 20, 50 years. I think that's a big thing to undertake. That's all I really had to say. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hello. That sign's not even mine. I was just using it because it got really hot out there in the standing room only. I'm Julie Patterson, 714 Walnut. I just had some questions about the process, similar to some of the people who spoke before me. It's felt rushed. It's felt not transparent. I guess my questions are so I know that your vote goes to City Council. There's a first reading there, and then more public comment can happen there. And then is there a vote after that, or 2 readings? So the second reading has a vote, but there's not public comment at the second.
Yes.
There are public comments at both readings. Okay. I've said this before at previous meetings about just wanting the website to be easier to navigate and to find this. Like, I feel like I've been going from this section of the website to this section to Patrick's page to this to try and find all the pieces. Nicole said you'd make the presentation available, and that would be super helpful. But just, echoing what people have said, that having a more in-depth meeting where everybody has a seat. I mean, we've been standing out there while the city made their presentation, and I definitely want the city to make their presentation, but if we really want it to be open and welcoming to the public, we need to make the public comfortable. There's people sitting on their rolly pushers. We had to just find every chair, and I get that there's limitations for the fire marshal, but if we truly want it to be open and transparent, there needs to be space to have that, and I don't feel like this is the space. There were a couple other things I was thinking about with the website, like where can we find the housing study? I know there was also the Ball State study. Is that available on the website for people to look at?
I'm not sure about the Ball State study. I'll have to check because that's specific to Walnut Street, and it's not our work product, so I'll have to see what we can
I
use.
felt like in that study they made recommendations, though, not just for Walnut Street, but Madison as a whole, but maybe I'm mistaking on that. Maybe it was just Walnut Street. But just those kinds of things, like there are people who are nerdy like me that like to read it and understand it and then kind of process it and put it out into terms that everyone can understand more easily, because not everybody is like me and is a stay-at-home mom right now and has a lot of time. You know, my son is going on a trip with my husband tomorrow, and I decided to come to this meeting because it was super important, but this is now 2 hours and 20 minutes that I've been away from him the night before he leaves. So like, those are things that we need to take into account, that people want to be here, but you know, people were walking out during the presentation just because it was taking quite a long time. Do we have to talk to the Army Corps of Engineers? I'm almost done.
Yeah, sorry, I'm usually trying
It's okay.
to not let that happen.
That's okay. Does this have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers because of the flooding situation?
It does not. It is out of the floodway, which is their jurisdiction. So it's, this area was selected because it's in the flood fringe, which does not require Army Corps of Engineers. It would be reviewed by the floodplain administrator through our ordinance here.
Gotcha. And then just in terms of the housing, and like, I understand that we're limited on housing. Just like Tony said, he's heard from executives who need housing. I've heard from people who work in, you know, waitressing jobs, my hairdresser, like people on that end of the spectrum who also can't find housing here. And this doesn't sound like housing that would be representative to them or affordable to them. So maybe, you know, the executives get more of the PACE grant. There's 100 places available on Realtor.com right now. That's what the PACE grant is for. It just feels like we haven't taken the people of Madison into consideration here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I just want to address that. So we do have a comprehensive housing strategy, which is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and that includes infill development. Our PACE program is eradicating blight all across our neighborhoods. We have a partnership with the Habitat Humanity for the single-family home subdivision up there. We just closed on the first phase of what's going to be 186 apartments of affordable housing for low to moderate income residents in our community, and we're planning an entry-level single-family subdivision. So we're biting off a lot all simultaneously.
So why can't that
Yeah.
low-income housing be on the river? Like, why don't those people deserve Riverview?
It's not a distinction of who deserves what. It's about there's a cost associated with everything. It's about trying to find highest and best uses of sites all across the city for these different purposes. And it's really, really difficult. It's not just about picking up a project and say, I want to put it over there. It's just really, really complicated, but we're trying to address it from all facets. Hi, sir.
My name's Stephen Cox, 508 Broadway Street here in Madison. And I'd just like to address you guys that if I were sitting in your shoes and I saw a redistricting proposal like we have here with no more details or no more restriction for a great riverfront that we have, I would be hard pressed to vote this on. And that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, you're allowed.
My first city council meeting I've ever been to. Okay, good deal. Hi, my name is Lauren. I've actually lived in Jefferson County all my life, but I moved downtown about 6 months ago. You might know me from my retail job.
Can you state your last name and your address?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
It's all right.
Lauren Ross. It's 108 East.
There you go.
108 East First Street. Like I said, I've lived here about 6 months, but I've been in Jefferson County all my life. More so what I wanted to elaborate on is, like everyone's been talking about the zoning and things like that, but I haven't heard anyone talk more about, we were talking about like the singles and the couples that are moving into town that are just starting their career. I'm included in that boat. I've worked a variety of jobs. I've worked fast food here, I've worked retail, and yes, we have an issue with affordable housing, but it's not just affordable housing. I've seen firsthand that, you know, business is struggling in Madison a little bit, and I've seen it in fast food.
Yeah, you don't have to hold it, yeah. It'll say.
That's okay, like I said, first time, this is like a practice. I have seen firsthand, it's because business has not been that great at points. It's hard for people to get hours in. At my current job, and I'm not complaining about it, but I work 3 or 4 different positions at my one job to get near full-time hours. Just because it's that hard to find people. because they don't want just part-time hours. Now, if I remember correctly, were we saying we were proposing like $1,350 for the rent with this new building? I thought I heard that number mentioned at some point. Okay, cool beans. That wasn't professional, I'm sorry. But anyway, my only concern with that and us talking about, there's execs that are hesitant to move into town. Right now, my rent is a little bit under $1,000, but I worry about us having rent that high. I don't see that alone attracting execs, but I do see it raising the standard for how much rent's gonna be in Madison. And like anytime someone posts on Facebook a one-bedroom apartment for $1,100 a month, immediately 50 laugh racks. So it's not taken positively. I don't want to set that dangerous precedent, but in addition to that, besides the higher rent, like I mentioned, I work here in town, but my boyfriend has to work out of state. In order to afford our rent, he works out of state full-time too, and we still barely have any money for bills and such, because the cost of living here is kind of high. I budget very carefully, but I moved down here to walk and, hopefully shop, but the shopping part hasn't really happened yet. And when I do talk to tourists that come into town, because I work with a lot of contractors and such too, everyone's talking about they love the relatability of Madison, that it is a small town. And I also don't want us to forget that charm that we have and what we try to show on social media. I worry about, we don't need to have Madison super, super modern either. The execs that are wanting to come into town, the people that make more money, we have pickleball and things like that attract to them. We have splashes of things for more wealthy people.
You can wrap up, please.
Yeah, I gotcha. But we have those splashes so that they still feel like they're kind of at home, but it's their home away from home. So those are my only concerns, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Villers.
It went off again. Can you turn the mic? Yeah. You just touch, there's a base, you touch it. There you go. You're good. It's on.
Thank you. My name is Jeff DeVillers. I live at 110 West 3rd Street. I came down to Madison in 2016 to the River Roots Festival. And I'm originally from Wisconsin and fell in love with Madison instantly. All I did was go see the museum, and an older gentleman there gave me a tour and talked to me about Madison. And it was clear to me with the quality and caliber of the people that were at the river, performers at the River Roots Festival, that there was something special in this community. They put together, and I forget, I think the guy's name was Greg. He put together a lineup that is probably the best lineup I've heard, and I've been to numerous music festivals. But anyway, I fell in love with Madison and in 2016, and was able to buy a house here at 110 West 3rd in 2019. I was really lucky to get in before all of this development occurred. My background is, in Wisconsin, was as a certified appraiser in Wisconsin. I was also certified in Arizona and Indiana, and I held the Senior Residential Appraiser designation from the Appraisal Institute. And as well, I closed out my career a couple of years ago as appraisal review manager for BMO Harris Bank. And in every appraisal I've done or reviewed, zoning is a primary consideration. It is really important. And what I'm a little bit surprised at with this is that it seems like all-purpose zoning, and it allows for too much. As such, protection from adverse influences from all of for all of the people around it isn't real good, and that's also one of the things we consider in an appraisal. So, you know, I took a walk down Vaughan, and I thought, oh geez, you know, there have got to be alternatives to this. And I walked over to the riverboat property, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's probably not a better property that's suitable and on the riverfront, but yet it's kind of isolated by the 421 bridge and such. So, so I thought, well, geez, I see it right there on the map. It looks like the zoning is proposed to be changed for that too. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah, okay. And I guess, you know, with regard to the all-purpose zoning, you know, I don't even know how many units are allowed with this zoning classification.
I'm going to ask that you wrap up if you can.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's premature with the decrease from 45 feet to 35 feet, which I think is significant. And it's premature to vote on zoning or approve it with zoning that is, you know, allows for so many different kinds of uses and without public knowledge of the unit density. Because, you know, it's all, you know, how many units can you fit there, you know, so just my thoughts on it. Mayor, thank you so much for all of the great work you do with the community, and Deputy Mayor Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Richard Ice, 118 Jefferson Street. I'm one of the people that will be affected by this hotel. I'm the second house up on Jefferson, and you're going to take my view away. But that's not really why I'm up here. Sorry. What I'm worried about are two things. One, we're not restricting anything in this area. The city owns the coal yard, supposedly wants to put apartments there, that's great. All the rest of that property is private property. Any one of those homeowners, after you change this zoning, can decide they want to sell their property to a gas station. And now we got a gas station on the riverfront. And I'm sure we don't want a gas station similar to Coakley on our riverfront. Or whatever other development that somebody would want to bring there. A restaurant, a gas station, who knows?
To be just a little clear, there is a schedule of uses of what's allowable and what's not. It's not just wide open.
And what's on that schedule of uses?
I mean,
Is a gas station on that schedule of uses?
Those are on there.
gas station's not on there, I believe.
I believe it is.
It is.
One of the proposals, the proposal online, yes, had erroneously had a variety of uses that were allowed. The staff presented the board an amendment, and I'm happy to provide that on the website as well.
That's another reason this needs to be delayed. They haven't told us what we're doing. We've gone from 45 to 35. Now they're telling us gas stations aren't allowed. They're not ready for this, but they're asking you to approve it. And Bob says nobody has come up with a proposal what to do with this area. They have come up with a proposal. I can guarantee you 90% of the people in this room have a proposal. Keep developing the riverfront as it is. You can't develop this riverfront overnight. We didn't put the walkway in overnight. It started with one section, then we added another, then we added another, and now it goes from Vernon Street to Ferry Street. Developing the north side is going to be the exact same way. This administration chose to spend their money elsewhere. They could have spent it on this lot, made it into a nice park or whatever. That's not how they chose to spend it. They did it down towards the central part. but the next administration may want to continue down this way. We decided a long time ago, we wanted Bond Drive.
Sorry, I did not.
You're fine. Bond Drive to be park-like. And we're halfway into that, and now we're wanting to change the rules. And that's just not right.
Thank you.
Nathan Montoya, 110 East Main Street. I would just like to add my voice to the suggestions that this be slowed down. And I served on the board of Visit Madison at the time that the Madison logo was developed. I was on that committee. And I've got to say that the end product looked like it was created by a committee. But it stuck. We still have that, and elements of that are used here and there. But it wasn't just the committee. There was broad community input in that. There were, I think it may have been down at what is now buy-sell trade, different options on the wall. People would come in and vote on it. So we had comments on that, all of that. So it was created by a very big committee. But it was the community that was involved in that. The comprehensive plan, that was huge community involvement over time. It took a lot of time, a lot of involvement by the individuals of the community there. So there was a lot of input. There were slides. There was input on the slides. There were more slides, more PowerPoint. It took time. So I feel that this is, at this point, feeling very rushed. The TIF situation, understand that, some urgency there, but kind of feel that that's sort of the cart pushing the horse here, that the community, again, needs to have a broad voice in this, and several other people have expressed that. My wife and I moved here after living in some very big cities, living in London, New York City for a long time, Dallas before moving here. We chose this. We chose to move here and start a business on Main Street, Village Lights Bookstore. We've since retired, but we chose Madison, and it was going to be our forever home. This was it. We'd lived all around, and this was where we wanted to spend the rest of our years. And we moved here in 2006. At that time, Bicentennial Park was a field of rubble. There was a toxic dump down where the Heritage Trailhead is. There were the tack factory. You all know about that. So in the time that we've been here, we've seen gradual progress. And every morning, practically, we walk along the riverfront, and we have, for months, commented, that's nice, that's nice. Look how it's changed, how it's improved, but it's been gradual, tasteful, with community involvement. And when this came up so suddenly, we thought of that. It's the Eagles on Hotel California. Everybody knows that, right? And there's one line in one of their songs that, call a place paradise, and how many times since we moved here, have we heard people say, another day here in paradise in Madison? Wrapping up. Call a place paradise, kiss it goodbye. And I hope that that's not the case here, that we can work as a broad community with community input, work together across party lines with our neighbors, and find a way forward that makes sense for everybody down at the river. It's our river. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Can I say something?
You do. I'm sorry, just because we have to get it on record.
My name's Rainey Wilson, and I've been in Madison my whole life. I've never left. Some of those green spaces are previous where homes sat. Due to flooding, people were not allowed to return to their homes. That was in the late 70s. Bobby, you probably remember some of this. Not all of that green space was a coal yard. Homes used to sit there. People were not allowed to return in the late 70s because of the flooding was so horrendous here. 97, it was bad. I think you need to kind of think about that. I don't know if this is a good idea after we put people off of that land and would not let them reside there because of flooding. And now we're going to open a gate to say, hey, we want to build in these green spots. I just think we need to think about that. Please consider this.
Thank you. All right, looks like,
I wanted to say one thing that nobody's brought up. There has been a petition, oh, sorry, I didn't think you.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, just because of
I'm
record.
pretty loud. One thing that nobody really brought up is there has been petitions going around, and there's close to, if not over 1,000, I know, on the one on Facebook against this proposal. Again, we have found out that because of some of this opposition, we have now heard that they're talking about decreasing the size. It's changed stats, it's changed lots. So I think it is very prudent to think about that this has been not really well thought out. It has not really involved community. You're seeing the community speak. I think that it is very prudent to either vote no or table it and get more input from everybody. I think there's lots of people that are ready to come forward and help with proposals, things that won't just benefit some people that can live in this apartment, things that could benefit our whole community, everybody involved, bring in lots of other things to help. And I just wanted to reiterate that because I hadn't heard anybody really bring up that petition against this project. So I think that's pretty prudent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to note for the official record that we had several comments written in to both planning staff and Councilman Tevenaugh. We received written comments from Joel Ferguson, Chris Cody, Julie Patterson, Casey Leslie, Kathy Jackson, Colleen Johnson Burnett, Tracy Keller Green, and Deanna Shelley. And those have all been provided to the Planning Commission members.
Jared Boyd again, 111 East 3rd Street. I just want to comment that I know that each of you got a letter from Chris Cody, who is a professional in preservation. He's lived in Madison for less than a year.
All right.
A couple things that just kind of, oh, I'm sorry.
Julie Tevenaugh, 761 West 3rd Street. I agree with 99% of what the public has said, opposing these as they are. So I'm not going to bring up any of my opinions on that. I just, my request for you is to either vote no, but I would really like to see this tabled. I do not see how you can sit up here with, 2.5 hours worth of comments, and you guys aren't going to discuss it between yourselves. Go home and digest it. And I would like to see another public meeting at the Brown Gym, because you guys didn't see how packed it was out there. We can't hear in any of those office spaces at all. So everybody's on their phone. It's hot. There's a lot of sweaty menopausal women here, so we're hot. We are. And you didn't get to see the whole extent of the crowd. Patrick didn't get to see it because he's out of town this week. So I just think, and we've done this before at the Brown Gym, maybe it was for the comprehensive plan. Let's try other ideas. People have ideas. There was a lot of ideas. What are we on? I'm on a 3-minute time limit. You can't even begin to possibly verbalize the idea or the concept of a plan in 3 minutes. Please, either vote no or table this until we can have more public conversations about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just a couple of things to think about from a procedural standpoint. Obviously, if you table it, it goes on until it's brought off the table. So that's number one. But if you vote no, then it moves on to the council with a negative recommendation. If council were to make some kind of an amendment, then it comes back to you potentially. And/or if the council turns it down, then it couldn't be brought up for a year. So just FYI from a procedural standpoint of how it has to play out.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I just want to say, that I appreciate everybody being here tonight, bringing forth ideas, questions, a lot of comments, doing what we wanted, which is to have the conversation about our riverfront. And there needs to be a thoughtful plan, and there's also opportunity. One of the reasons why we're here now is because, the state of Indiana, through the Regional Development Authority, believes that this is an important project and has committed $2 million towards it. So there's the opportunity of when the funding comes together, which is why we had the financial plan in last week's city council meeting. But with that said, again, I think we ought to take a thoughtful approach to it. I'm not opposed if the Plan Commission wants to table this. Consider the remarks that were here tonight. The amendment that Nicole had prepared because of mistakes in the schedule of uses, I think it's prudent to take some time to get it right and then have more dialogue, more input, more planning, and we'll see how that aligns with the investment strategy, if that's what Plan Commission wants to do.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I think there were some changes that, were brought forth, especially with the zoning, and I'll just, tell everybody, I think the zoning did have some changes from what was posted and then what we got. I think the public needs, the time to also look at that. I think they should have that, and be able to get more public comment. We may be able to set up a meeting so that people are able to, just utilize that meeting for
Well, we'll have
public comment.
another meeting
Right?
at the next
Sure.
month, right?
Sure,
So
but, I do think, it would be, prudent. We've heard a lot from a lot of people tonight. We had a lot of emails, and I think for this, commission to, make a really good decision in each individual, I think tabling it might be the right thing.
I agree with Mr. Wilbur's comments here. I think, and the mayor as well, I think tabling this would be a wise decision until we can have a separate, specially scheduled public meeting to discuss it and work on it further outside of the constraints of our regularly planned commission meetings.
Okay. Do we have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion that we table this.
Do you have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Is it?
Aye.
Okay. Aye.
Any opposed?
I thought we were going to take a roll call. All right. Is it aye? Is it just an aye or is it roll call?
I don't think you have to have a roll call.
Just aye, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, and, but we do need a motion to adjourn.
Right, all right, so I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Who seconded that?
Jerry did.
Jerry did.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Putting up with all of us. I don't envy your job, but I think you made a wise decision.